Hey everyone! This is the first episode of Growing Through Grad School.
We're growing through grad school. We're striving to be the best we can. We're learning our craft too, but we gotta step back and just breathe the fight on again.
I'm Rebecca Miller.
Hi, I'm Christian Millett.
Welcome!
Yeah, this is our first episode. This is a podcast. Obviously, we're in grad school, so we just want to talk about our experience going through it, share things that we're dealing with, and growing through, and share some things we're learning, and do some guided meditations as well.
Yeah, so Christian and I are both clinical psychology doctoral students.
Yes.
So like meditations and mental health and self-care, it's kind of our thing.
Right.
But it's so hard in grad school.
Right. We just took our comps, so I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit, but it's kind of like there's always one thing after another, and it can feel like we're just going and going. So I think, at least for me, the podcast is kind of something, a self-care practice, and then also a reminder, as well, to practice meditation, mindfulness.
Yeah, I meditate a lot and I do guided meditations a lot. And I know there's a lot of meditations out there that are specific to anxiety and certain kind of problems, but there's not a lot out there that are actually focused on problems that a grad student faces.
Right.
So the idea of creating guided meditations that are surrounding the problems that I deal with day to day that the rest of the world doesn't deal with is really appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know a lot of students who agree with that too.
Yeah, definitely. Because we were talking about this before, obviously, and so this morning, I was thinking about. Well, yesterday morning, I was thinking about. I was getting ready for my externship, and it's my first week there, and I thought, man, it'd be nice to have like a guided meditation about, you're going to externship, and you got this. You're going to be prepared for the day, and you'll be able to get something like that. So.
And it's not even the same as the first day on a new job, because we're still clinicians in training, and we're trainees under a licensed psychologist. So being in that trainee role, it makes you doubt yourself so much, but at the same time, you feel really confident in your skills because you're learning and practicing. I mean, we're in our fourth year. We're gaining a lot more competence. It's kind of a confusing experience, but it's very exciting at the same time.
Yeah. So in this podcast, we talked about the guided meditations. Each week we're going to share our highs and lows. So essentially, when I was in high school, I carpooled with my aunt and my cousin. So, shout out to LaFonda and Morgan. But at the end of each day, when my aunt would pick us up, she would tell us, okay, so what was the high for the day and what was the low for the day? So essentially, in this podcast, each week we're going to share, something really positive or great that we're happy about, or that we're glad happened during the week, and then something that was probably more of a challenge or just a low point in the week. So.
Yeah, I think the idea behind the lows too is to say that there are times every week that are really, really tough, but also trying to find a new way to think about that. Even if it's just accepting that it was hard, you don't always have to come at it with this is a new strategy, I'm going to cope with it differently. Sometimes it's just like it happened and I can move past it and let go of it and start fresh next week or the next day. So for me, at least, the lows, I'm trying to make them positive in some way. Man, I can think of a lot of lows, though. Especially lately. So we're trying to touch on that, and then on top of the highs and lows, we're also trying to find a theme each week, whether it's something that's coming up in our own lives or on social media or with our friends, and sort of taking a
in
more
the news too.
in the news, definitely in the news, a more scholarly approach to it, to sort of use our academic knowledge to teach you guys and ourselves honestly a little bit more about it, and then just have a natural conversation about it to sort of find ways to tie that into our experiences and our growing knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited to share, the things that we're learning in school, and then also just the experience of being in grad school as well. Yeah.
Well, we should introduce ourselves a little more.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, would you like to start?
Sure. So like I said, I'm Rebecca Miller. I am from Minnesota, grew up in Minnesota. I got my master's in counseling psychology at the University of St. Thomas. I actually should say that Christian and I are both artists, so my undergrad degree is quite important to me too, because I do have an undergrad Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, but I also got a master's in graphic design, and then I also did painting and photography for my minor. So I love art. Art is a big part of my world, and so I'm trying my best to incorporate it into my grad school life, although it's kind of difficult to fit it in sometimes. So I moved to Washington, D.C., where we are now, in 2015 to start a clinical psychology doctoral program, PhD program at Howard University, and currently living in Maryland and going to Howard, doing my clinical work right now at the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, doing college counseling with some art kids. So I've been getting a little bit more of that weird art world through that too, which has been really nice.
Yeah, definitely. And you also made our logo for the podcast as well.
I did.
And it's so great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Christian's a musician.
Right. Yes. So
he made our intro, which is also really great.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So Christian Millette. I too am a fourth year clinical psychology PhD student at Howard. I'm from the Los Angeles area. I moved to Washington, D.C. For undergrad originally. I went to undergrad at Howard as well. So,
Did you?
You know. Right? So in undergrad, I was a psychology major, African American Studies minor. I also studied abroad in Spain and got to see other countries in Europe and North Africa. So now, of course, in the PhD program at Howard, I went straight through, and Becky and I are in the child adolescent track as well. So currently, I'm doing play therapy at an elementary school in Maryland.
And also, Christian just got his master's.
Oh, yes, yeah, right.
He just finished his MS.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Congrats.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was definitely exciting, a relief to be done. Definitely feel like I earned it, worked hard.
Oh, yes.
Finished that in July, the master's degree in clinical psych. And, in psychology in our program, you get like a master's as you go, if you choose to. So
terminal master's. See, I did a MA, a Master's of Arts, and so I didn't have a thesis. So I'm doing a master's equivalency project, which is basically just a thesis that two people sign off on, and I don't have to defend it because I'm not trying to get the terminal master's degree. But in a lot of ways, I feel like that's been extra work for me because I don't have a committee who's all looking at it, and other people are counting on other people to get things done. Yeah. So it's just me and my advisor trying to work through it. And you've had the experience of defending.
Right. Yeah. So my advisor and I decided I wanted to do the thesis. and then get the master's. One of the reasonings behind that was, to have the experience of defending, and then it's kind of like a preparation for defending the dissertation for the PhD. So for me, I had three psychology professors on my committee, and they asked me questions about my study, essentially. So for the dissertation, there'll be 5 members, essentially doing
I
that
didn't know
on
there
a
was
bigger
a
scale.
difference in the number of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah.